Hey, welcome to the show. So, today what I want to do is a gear review on splitter gloves. Now, I've got three different pairs to talk about. I've got the Osoon splitter gloves, I've got the Outdoor Research splitter gloves, and I've got the Climax crack gloves. So, we're going to compare these on five different characteristics: fit, durability, comfort, construction, and price. So, first, let's talk about fit. For the Osoon, I'm a medium, happen to be a medium in all three of these gloves. This is, the way this goes on is it's got a Velcro strap that actually tucks up underneath the rubber here. That comes out, wraps around the wrist, comes back, and then velcros up again underneath the rubber. So these fit pretty snug for a medium. There's not a lot of movement here. The thumb and finger holes are pretty good fit. And it stops right at the wrist. So there's a lot of really good motion here. My fingers can manipulate, so when I'm jamming, nothing's constricting any of that movement. So these are a really good fit. Been really happy with them. Super snug. Then the next is the Climax. So this is the Climax glove. It is an all rubber glove and also a medium, as I said. The finger holes I found to be a bit tight. Now they do stretch a little because again they're kind of rubber, so think like really thick, heavy rubber band around the fingers, and then the Velcro here. Now these come down a little further on the wrist, here, so there's a little bit of constriction of movement in the wrist. The fingers move pretty good. The glove is pretty well fitted to my hand. So I was pretty happy with that. A little bit of a gap in the wrist. It's kind of hard to get that Velcro aligned just right because you're not cinching it back like you are on the Osoon and also the Outdoor Research, which you'll see. So fit on these is decent. It's not too bad. It's not perfect though. So it's these. Then on the Outdoor Research. So the Outdoor Research gloves. I found the finger holes to fit quite nicely. Everything just slides right over, goes down. The Velcro, again, kind of wraps around the wrist and then back over. However, there's a lot of looseness in here, the back of my hand. Even though it does come down below, the wrist line, it doesn't constrict the movement. Doesn't constrict any movement on my fingers. So certainly, this one definitely allows for the most movement, but there's also a lot of slop in here. A lot of kind of excess material, I think. A lot of extra space. So, certainly when it comes to fit, in my opinion, Osoon takes it. Climax and the Outdoor Research are kind of tied, fair ways back for different reasons. Flexibility, Outdoor Research, in terms of just pure fit. Climax seems to be a slightly better fit, maybe a little snugger on the fingers, so it kind of depends on your finger size a bit. Next characteristic that I want to talk to you about is comfort, right? So, I have tried to put all three of these through the ringer. I've put about 3,000 vertical feet on the Osoon gloves, and they're really comfortable. When I'm jamming, whether it's hand jam or fist jam, they've got this pad here in the back that goes over your knuckles, so that's kind of nice, that extra padding there. And then the actual rubber pad on the top really wraps over your hand. What you'll see is it really wraps over, right around the wrist. So, it's really protecting you if you're getting in there, you're jamming hard, you're in something sharp, whether it's some pea gravel, in the rock, or if it's limestone, everything's really nice and protected here. So, jamming with these is super comfortable. Every time I stick my hand in the crack, feels bomber, not going to slip out. These are top notch when it comes to comfort. Now, as for the Climax, I kind of feel like comfort is where these fall down. So, when I first started climbing with them, and these I've put about 3,000 vertical feet on as well. What happens is, as my hand warms up, they're not very breathable, so it gets sweaty in there. This can start to move up and down a little bit because of that, and the finger holes can hurt a little bit if you're in a jam that's really pulling on the rubber. What I will say is these things feel like your hand is encased in rubber, because it is. Nothing bites through it. Put it in the sharpest hold, it's not going to matter. You're not going to feel any pain. So they do have that going for them, but for a long climb, not very comfortable, and you really got to get used to the finger rings there, because that can hurt a bit at first. So that's the Climax. For the outdoor research, now, first put these on, I was like, oh, these are super soft, they're really thin, so I thought, oh, they'll be breathable, but because they are so thin, every time I put them on and jam, I feel everything right through the pad. So, the pad isn't that thick. There's a lot of movement here, so I'm not feeling very confident in them when I'm hanging on the jam. I don't sweat in them. They don't hurt, but, just that that head comfort, right? That mental comfort isn't there, because it feels like I'm going to pull out. It feels like they're going to just tear right off, and they really lose it in the comfort realm for me. Frankly, I'd probably prefer the Climax gloves over the outdoor research. Next characteristic. So let's talk about durability. Well, first let's talk about construction, because that kind of leads into durability, right? While I have the OR research, like I said, it's very thin. It's a leather glove, so it's just a thin piece of leather, kind of, I imagine, die cut to the shape. Then the rubber pad, which is, again, a very thin rubber pad, appears to be glued on. The Velcro is all sewn on. I've got a rubber pad around the hole here to reinforce the Velcro loop that's going to loop through. And the Velcro seems to be pretty sticky, seems to be holding up. These gloves I put probably about 300 vertical feet on. No, sorry, 600 vertical feet on. So not nearly as much as the other gloves, and I'm already kind of seeing the defects from the lower grade of construction, which we'll talk about in just a second when we get to durability. Construction of the Osoon gloves. These things are bomber. They will never come apart, except I did break a pair. So similar to the outdoor research, appears to be a die cut piece of leather. Definitely thicker than the outdoor research, so it takes a little more breaking in of the finger loops. You have a pad of what I kind of think of as climbing rubber. Really feels like what's on the bottom of your shoes, glued on over that rubber. And then stitched in the back, you've got your Velcro closure. You've got stitched in to the back here is a pad for comfort on the knuckles. Inside of the rubber and leather pieces is a plastic reinforcement ring to keep this nice and durable and strong. And that's kind of the overall construction, how these are made. I'm not seeing anything come apart, so these are really well made, very well constructed, I think. As for the Climax, these are the simplest glove of all. Not sure that these are die cut. I believe they may be injection molded. Yeah, they're definitely injection molded. So you can tell based on like the seam around here and the fact that they've got these lines molded onto them for grip. So they claim that these are made of climbing rubber. However, this doesn't feel like climbing rubber to me. It's just kind of your basic rubber, kind of rubber mat material that you would think of. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but definitely not climbing rubber. It doesn't feel anything like what's on the bottom of your shoes. Doesn't have that same stickiness like your shoe rubber would have. It's one single piece, and then just has the Velcro pieces stitched in. So construction is simple, but functional, and seems to work. So now, all that construction begs the question of how durable are these products. Let's start first with the Climax. So Climax is, you would think, super durable, and I have put, like I said, about 3,000 vertical feet on these, and they've held up. They've held up really well. You know, there is no real apparent wear and tear on most of the glove. However, one of the climbs that I climb in the gym puts a lot of stress on the wrist. So there's a particular constriction in the wall that really grabs this wrist, and what I found is it puts a lot of pressure here. Now, recently, after like I said about the 3,000 foot mark, one of the gloves, the right hand, that's where I jam that hand in with, the rubber rip, and it's a clean rip right where that pressure point was, you know. So I'm not surprised by it. However, pretty durable, I think, you know, overall. You know, these things aren't made to last forever. I've got a lot of wear out of them. You know, for the most part, if I wasn't climbing that same climb over and over and over in training, I don't think they would have broken. So, you know, I'd say these are pretty fair in terms of durability. The Osoon Gloves. Now, I say I climbed about 3,000 vertical feet on these. That is true, but this is not my first pair. My first pair I put about 2,500 feet on in the climbing gym. And again, this piece here ripped right in the wrist, right at the same hold. Now I contacted Osoon and they replaced them, no charge. All I had to do was pay to ship them. So, you know, they stand behind their products. They've been great. These things are bomber. This pair I have only climbed outside on. And I've put about another 500 vertical feet on them, and they are holding up super solid, even in real rock. So very happy with them. These are amazingly durable. Of all the three, this is probably the most durable pair overall. So, and you know, with the fact that Osoon really stands by the product, can't be happier. The outdoor research. Now, the outdoor research, I'm a little disappointed in, I gotta say. Durability, first of all, the finger rings are super thin, and I just feel like this is gonna rip. But that aside, I'm starting to see some of the stress in the same area, probably related to that particular hold, that constriction. However, what I would not expect to see is some of the wear in the rubber here. So on this one in particular, I'm starting to see some of the rubber actually come unglued and come up from the leather, as well as the logo is pretty much garbage. You can see it's worn off. That took all of about 50 feet of climbing, and the logo was gone from this glove. So not the most durable glove. You know, that's really all I can say about that. So how do they stack up in price? And with all of these, you know, thoughts on, you know, the comfort, the cost, the durability and construction, which one do I recommend? Which ones don't I recommend? All right, so the Osoon gloves are the most expensive, as you would expect. The MSRP on these is $45. Although I've seen them for much less. I think pretty much any day of the week you can pick them up for $40 online. The Outdoor Research list price is $39. I think I got these on sale for $30. The ClimbX are the cheapest of all. Now, on Amazon, these were $20, right? Super cheap. You know, but their construction isn't very complex. It's just a piece of rubber with some Velcro. So they're also, I would think, the cheapest to make. So they're the cheapest to buy. Of the three, what do I think? Well, the Outdoor Research, huge disappointment. You know, these have been touted as an awesome glove online. Let me tell you, they are not. The durability is not at all where it needs to be. The comfort is not great. The fit's not great. And I just feel like I'm falling out of jams. So, for me, these are a no-go. I will not buy another pair. That leaves us with the Osoon and with the Climax. Now, if you're a serious crack climber, if you're a trad climber, and you're out there and this is what you do, the Osoon Gloves are the gloves for you. Spend the money, get the gloves, you won't regret it. These things are bomber. They stick like your hands are made of glue when you're sticking them in the crack. Absolutely the way to go. Construction is top-notch. The durability is top-notch. The comfort is top-notch. The price is also for the top-notch gloves, but they're worth it. Climax. Now, if you are just an occasional crack climber, it's not your thing, you just want a pair to throw in your bag, $20, they're not bad. They're not the most comfortable thing in the world, but they'll do the job and they will hold up. So, you know, that's my thought on these. If you're just getting into it, you're not sure if it's for you. Again, for $20, it's not a bad way to go. Or if you just want a spare pair because your buddy, you know, that you climb with isn't really a crack climber, you know, but you don't want him to tear his hands up, you know, throw these in your bag for an extra $20. Not a bad way to go. So, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. I'll put links to each of these in the description, and I hope that was useful to you. Alright, thanks.